The world is loud, not just in volume, but in constant demanding frequency. It is a marketplace of attention, an endless scroll of curated lives, a cacophony of opinions, emergencies, and performative noise. It is too loud, too chaotic, too demanding of a piece of you that you can never get back. You feel the pull in your nervous system, the ping of a notification, the pressure to be seen, the anxiety of missing out, the exhaustion of perpetual availability. And yet, history's most profound transformations, the forging of unbreakable character and crystalline purpose, have never begun in that noise. They were born in deliberate, chosen silence. Not on crowded streets buzzing with gossip, not in the frantic noise of constant, directionless movement, but in the quiet, sacred space you call home. This is not a physical location, so much as a psychological state, a space you defend where the external world's agenda is put on pause and your inner world is given the floor. For centuries, people have chased a mirage of power by being everywhere at once, talking to everyone, filling every hour with visible activity to signal importance. They confuse motion for progress and visibility for value. But the Stoics, those practical philosophers of inner strength like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, knew a deeper truth. They understood that a man becomes genuinely formidable not when he expands his social circle, but when he strategically contracts it. He withdraws. This withdrawal is not an act of escape, of cowardice, or of misanthropy. It is a tactical retreat for the purpose of consolidation. It is the conscious choice to master oneself in the quiet, away from the distorting mirrors of society, so that one may return to the fray not as a reactive participant, but as a grounded, intentional force. So today, let us reframe this quiet act not as isolation, but as incubation. Let's explore with depth and intention why choosing to stay home, to cultivate a rich, disciplined interior life, even for a dedicated season, can transform from a simple lifestyle choice into the most powerful, life-altering decision you will ever make. This is the architecture of building an inner citadel. 1. Escaping the noise and reconnecting with your sovereign self. Modern life is an engineered ecosystem of distraction. It is full of noise, not just auditory, but cognitive and emotional. The endless stream of opinions on social media, the manufactured drama of 24-hour news cycles, the heavy weight of others' expectations, the silent competitive pressure to keep up. This creates a constant, low-grade psychic pull that scatters your mind, your focus, and your energy in 1,000 different directions, leaving you feeling busy but barren, connected but profoundly lonely. When you make the conscious, countercultural decision to stay home, not out of laziness but with intention, you perform a radical act. You disconnect from that draining frequency and begin the slow, sacred work of reconnecting with something ancient and essential, your own uninterrupted thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire from war camps, wrote in his private journal, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He didn't need a physical palace. He needed access to this inner retreat. Your home, when approached with this mindset, becomes the physical gateway to that soul space. It transforms from a mere shelter into a temple of stillness, a sanctuary where the static fades and you can finally hear the foundational truth again, your own voice, your own intuitions, your own values, unhurried by the crowd. Initially, this self-imposed silence will feel profoundly uncomfortable, even alarming. Your conditioned mind, addicted to stimulus, will rebel. You will find your hand reaching for your phone on pure muscle memory. You will crave a podcast, a video, any external narrative to fill the quiet. This is the withdrawal symptom of a noise addiction. But if you have the discipline to sit with the discomfort, to literally just sit and breathe without an agenda, a fundamental rewiring begins. The mental clutter, like sediment in a shaken jar, starts to settle. Beneath the surface chatter, you begin to hear the low, steady hum of your own consciousness. Your thoughts, once a frenzied crowd, start to form orderly lines. Your priorities separate from the impositions of others. Day by disciplined day, the noise outside begins to lose its tyrannical power over your attention. Your mental processes sharpen. Your decisions cease to be reactive impulses and become deliberate choices. You start to see with painful clarity what actually matters to you, not what you've been told should matter. The Stoics formalized this practice as philosophical meditation or evening review, a daily, non-negotiable return to the self. In your quiet home, you become both student and teacher, asking the foundational Socratic questions adapted to your life. What did I do today? Why did I choose those actions? Were they aligned with my virtue? What is truly within my control, and what energy am I wasting on what is not? This daily audit is not self-criticism, it is self-governance. It is the very genesis of mastery. This is the precise point where internally generated peace begins to systematically replace externally imposed chaos. 2. Building the foundational discipline. Others merely perform. Observe the world around you. Most people are physiologically and psychologically incapable of sitting in stillness with their own thoughts. They require constant external stimulation, an endless scroll through social feeds, background noise from a television, the drama of other people's lives, the validation of likes and comments to feel okay. Their peace is contingent, fragile, and outsourced. When you consciously choose to stay home and engage deeply with that silence, you begin training a muscle that atrophies in public life, authentic self-discipline. This is not the discipline of grinding at a job you hate. It's the discipline of being fully, peacefully present with yourself without an agenda or an audience. You learn to be satisfying, insightful company for yourself. You learn to focus on a book, a craft, a line of thought, not for the external reward of praise or a finished product, but for the intrinsic value of the focus itself. You learn, in a world screaming for instant gratification, the profound power of its opposite, delayed gratification. You plant seeds you may not see bloom for seasons. Seneca saw the danger in the opposite approach with piercing clarity. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. The man constantly in motion, constantly networking, is often spiritually homeless, a ghost in every room but master of none. At home in your retreat, you learn the revolutionary act of being somewhere, fully present, deeply focused, unshakably grounded. Every time you resist the primal urge to seek distraction, every time you choose a page of philosophy over a page of gossip, you're not just passing time, you are forging another layer of mental armor. Each quiet, uninterrupted hour is a rep that strengthens the will, the core of your character. Consider your home not as a place of leisure, but as a private, serious gym for the mind. There are no mirrors to check your form, no applause for a personal best, no competitors to side-eye. There is only you, the weight of your own attention, and the silent repetition of the virtues, focus, patience, consistency. The discipline you build in this solitude is not a separate skill, it is the foundational currency that carries into every other arena of life. Your work ethic becomes more resilient, your relationships become more intentional, your sense of purpose becomes less foggy. The chaotic world does not need more people adding to the noise. It desperately needs men and women who have done the interior work to remain centered, calm, and effective when everything and everyone around them is spinning into frenzy. 3. Letting silence be the filter for your relationships. There is a clarifying moment that arrives after you've spent significant quality time in your own company. You begin to notice subtleties in your social world that were once drowned out by the buzz of constant interaction. You become a more sensitive instrument for measuring energy. You see clearly, perhaps for the first time, who in your life genuinely lifts your spirit and leaves you feeling expanded, and who, often under the guise of friendship, consistently drains you and leaves you depleted. You notice patterns. Who calls only when they need something, who dominates conversations, who responds to your good news with a barely concealed competitive energy. Distance, the kind cultivated by staying home and turning inward, is the ultimate revealer of truth. Solitude becomes a flawless mirror held up to your social landscape. The Stoics repeatedly warned that constant proximity, physical and digital, blurs vision and creates dependencies. When you courageously step back, the fog lifts and clarity returns with startling force. You realize that your time, attention, and emotional energy are not infinite resources. They are the most precious currencies you possess, and not everyone has earned the right to spend them. This is where you learn the non-violent art of pruning. You let the silence do the sorting. This requires no dramatic confrontations, no burning of bridges with angry words. It simply involves the calm, gradual withdrawal of your energy from dynamics that cost more than they give. You stop making yourself available for draining circular conversations. You politely decline invitations that you know will leave you empty. This is not misanthropy, it is stewardship. It is how you actively protect the peace you are cultivating within your sanctuary. It is the intentional building of a life-giving circle, a community that nurtures your growth rather than persistently draining your reserves. 4. Cultivating unshakable emotional independence. The majority of people operate from a deficit model of self-worth. They are emotionally dependent, relying on others to regulate their mood, validate their choices, and provide a sense of identity. They crave company primarily as a distraction from the discomfort of their own unexamined thoughts. They need constant external validation, likes, comments, compliments, reassurance, just to feel momentarily alive and approved. When you commit to staying home and facing yourself, you are forced to meet and build a different, far more resilient kind of strength: radical emotional independence. Epictetus, who taught that freedom is the only worthy goal, laid down the principle: freedom is secured not by the fulfillment of one's desires, but by the removal of desire. True freedom begins precisely when you stop depending for your happiness on anything outside your voluntary control, and this includes the approval, attention, and presence of other people. In the laboratory of your home, you learn practical self-sufficiency of the spirit. You learn to enjoy the richness of your own company, to find stimulation in learning, creating, or simply being. You discover that happiness and contentment built from within, sourced from your own values and actions, cannot be snatched away by the changing opinions or absences of others. You gradually stop the exhausting chase for approval. The fear of solitude transforms into a preference for it. You become calm, complete, and resourceful in your own presence. This is the fertile ground where quiet, authentic confidence grows. Notice it is not loud or boastful. It doesn't need to prove itself in arguments or flashy displays. It doesn't need to broadcast its achievements. It simply is, a quiet assurance that radiates from a man or woman who knows they are whole on their own. Transforming your home into a personal dojo of mastery. With this foundation laid, your home undergoes a final metamorphosis. It ceases to be just a retreat and becomes a purposeful training ground, a personal dojo, a studio, a forge. While the external world scrolls mindlessly, complains passively, and consumes endlessly, you are in your sanctuary practicing. You are reading to expand your mind, writing to clarify your thoughts, building a skill with your hands, creating art that expresses your soul, or planning your next life chapter with strategic patience. Every hour spent in this focused, solitary pursuit is not a subtraction from life. It is the highest yield investment you can make in your future self. The compound interest of consistent, quiet effort is staggering. Look to the masters, Marcus Aurelius, writing his meditations by candlelight during military campaigns, Seneca, composing his profound letters on ethics and life from his study, often in exile, Epictetus teaching students in a simple, humble room in Greece after gaining his freedom. None of these men required an audience, a trendy workspace, or chaotic stimulation to do their deepest work. They required, above all, stillness, the protective, fertile stillness that allows for deep concentration. Your home, however modest, offers you the exact same sacred gift, a place to sharpen your craft away from the judging eye, to design your next move not for applause, but for impact, to heal, to think, and to grow. While others are lost in the hunger for external attention, you are satiated by the pursuit of internal mastery. While others feel the compulsive need to broadcast every minor progress, you understand the strategic power of silent building. You are working on the masterpiece of your character and capability, and true masterpieces are not built in the public square. 6. The alchemy of conserved energy, from scattered to potent. When you stop the habitual unconscious motion, the obligatory outings, the draining small talk, the consumption of meaningless digital distraction, you begin a critical audit of your personal economy. You start to see with forensic clarity where your life's energy, your focus, your emotional reserves, your vital force is actually being spent. You see that every unnecessary engagement, every drama you witness or participate in, every ounce of attention given to things that don't align with your core values has a cost. It withdraws precious resources from your inner bank account, leaving you spiritually and mentally bankrupt. Learning the art of staying home is learning the art of conservation. You start saving that finite energy exclusively for what truly matters to your mission and your well-being. You stop spending your psychological capital on noise. You stop leaking your strength into the black holes of other people's drama, gossip, and manufactured chaos. Your yes becomes rare, considered, and powerful because it is not given from desperation or social obligation. Your no becomes a clean, calm, and firm statement of your boundaries, delivered without guilt or lengthy justification. You come to a Stoic realization. A calm, focused life is not a small or cowardly life. It is a potent, precise, and intentional one. Every decision becomes deliberate. Every expenditure of effort becomes targeted. And the less you scatter your attention to the winds of external demand, the more concentrated, powerful, and effective your presence becomes in the areas you choose to engage. You move from being a diffuse light bulb, illuminating everything poorly, to being a laser, cutting through noise to achieve what matters. 7. The ultimate revelation. Solitude as freedom, not punishment. Then, as this practice deepens, an alchemical shift occurs in your perception. Solitude, the state our culture often equates with loneliness and failure, sheds its negative skin. It no longer feels like isolation or banishment. It begins to feel like the purest form of freedom you have ever experienced. You realize, in your bones, that being alone is categorically different from being lonely. Loneliness is the pain of feeling disconnected. Being alone, when chosen, is the spaciousness of connection with your deepest self. This quiet space becomes the canvas where your mind can finally stretch to its full dimensions, where your life's purpose untangles from others' expectations and becomes clear, where you discover who you authentically are without the world's relentless noise telling you who you should be. This is the great divide. Weak men fear being alone with themselves because they might meet the emptiness they've been running from. Strong men, however, actively seek and embrace solitude because they know it is the only arena where they can meet and strengthen their true self. Solitude is the ultimate test and proof of self-respect. Can you stand your own company? Can you find contentment in the silent, unadorned moment? When you can answer yes, a liberation occurs. You stop chasing people to fill a void. You stop begging for attention to feel seen. You stop needing the validation of the crowd to feel worthy. You become a self-contained, complete system. You become whole on your own terms. From this place of wholeness, every external connection becomes a choice, not a need. Closing reflection. The forged peace of the inner citadel. Understand this clearly. The sacred practice of staying home is never about permanently hiding from the world's vibrant, challenging, beautiful fray. It is the essential, strategic preparation for returning to it, not as a brittle, reactive participant, but as a stronger, wiser, more disciplined, and infinitely more grounded contributor. Every hour spent in quiet reflection, study, and deliberate practice is an hour spent rebuilding and fortifying your inner world. And when your inner world is strong, ordered, and peaceful, the outer world, with all its chaos, demands, and storms, loses its power to shake you from your foundation. This is how genuine, unassailable peace is forged. This is how self-mastery is born, not in the heat of battle, but in the quiet before it. The Stoics had a term for this fortified inner state, the inner citadel. It is a fortress of virtue and reason built inside your soul, one that no external event, no failure, no criticism, no loss, no chaos can ever breach if you maintain its walls. When you consciously cultivate that fortress in the sanctuary of your home and mind, the storms may rage outside, but you are safe, calm, and clear within. The world will continue to be loud, it will be chaotic, it will make its endless demands, but you will find you are no longer moved by it in the same frantic way. You will engage on your terms, from your center, with your energy protected, because you have found and now inhabit the quiet place within. It has many names: your home, your mind, your center, your soul. This is the true, demanding, and rewarding path of Stoicism. It is the path of inner mastery first. It is the path of the individual who has learned, through voluntary stillness, to control the trajectory of his life, rather than letting life, in all its noisy chaos, control him. Remember, in deliberate stillness, you grow stronger than any storm. In chosen solitude, you become whole, needing nothing to complete you. And in protected silence, you finally hear the only voice that can guide you truly, your own.